I don't think I ever have been offended
So-
in my life. And by
Well,
the way,
that's-
this is funny. Actually, this is interesting. And I was talking about this with somebody yesterday. We were talking about Louis C.K. This is why it was fresh in my mind. And I said something about Kevin Spacey and the whole Kevin Spacey thing. And I read the initial stuff about Kevin Spacey, right? And I know there's different stories, but the one story, which I think turned out not to be true because the kid dropped it because he wouldn't give the prosecutors his phone because apparently he was sending pictures and Snapchats and like, I'm going to hitting on Kevin Spacey, watch this kind of thing. But, you know, I was so strange to me because as somebody who has been in many gay bars in my life, just, you know, anthropologically, you know, just happened to, you know, walk into the wrong one and say, oh, what am I doing here? Let's stay for 8 drinks. I get them for free when I'm in a gay bar. It's amazing. Everything is free in a gay bar. And people do they'll maybe grab your dick. People maybe touch you a lot. This doesn't happen with me in straight bars. It's never happened, unfortunately. I've tried to make it, just doesn't happen. In like when I read some of the Kevin Spacey stuff, and again, I'm not defending him. I don't know the details of all the cases, but there was one thing I read and I was like, yeah, isn't that just a gay bar? Isn't that just, I don't know. I just thought that maybe the language is slightly different. I just assumed that's what it was. And again, I'll get in trouble for saying that, but I didn't,
the difference is simply
it's like a different thing.
Different attitudes between men and women that are very different. If you create an environment that is both sexual and all male, there is no female restraint involved, and it can lead to all sorts of cray, and it can get out of hand or in your hand. But when I first walked into, and it's gotten better, Michael, it's gotten better. People are not, in the old days, I would walk into a bar and have my butt grabbed a few times. And if I would say hello to someone in the old days, like this is like the people who grew up in being gay in the 70s, they kiss you right in the lips when you meet them. I'm like, no, thank you. We have actually normalized a little bit, and less of that takes place. But the issue of consent between gay men is a totally different phenomenon than between men and women. It just is, because men and women are fundamentally different on that sexual. This is one of my old things. If you really want to see the differences between men and women, fully elaborated and proven, just look at the difference between gay men and lesbians. Two communities could almost no two communities have less in common than those two. We live in the same place, you might as well not see them at all. Now, obviously, that's a grotesque generalization. I have plenty of lesbian friends and so on and so forth. But here is 6 o'clock in the morning here. The lesbians are walking their dogs. The gay men are struggling back from a one-night stand. That's essentially the difference. And you also have to understand the lesbians here are like, they weren't too happy with all these gay men coming here and giving each other COVID. There's a real undercurrent of tension there, because the gays are so fucking irresponsible. And the lesbians have to always clean up our mess.
So you're pro-lesbian in this argument, basically.
No, I'm always pro-gay, actually, at some level. And I hope, my hope about PCDers is that at some point gay men are going to rebel, because they're going to realize that they're now the target for all these people, and they're funding organizations that are basically telling them they're the oppressors. And at some point, people are going to say, fuck this. No, we want to be our subversive gay men, and defending biological sex, defending dick, as it were, as a critical element of what it means to be homosexual. Whereas the current trans movement is about saying that to be homosexual is not, you can have sex with people with vaginas. If you're gay, that's perfectly fine. You just haven't met the right trans man with a vagina in order to have sex with. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. The last person that told me if I just worked at it, I could have sex with someone with a vagina was a priest. And I didn't agree with them, and I'm not going to agree with you. And
I had the same conversation. He turned out to be absolutely right. I was like, oh yeah, let me try that out. The priest told me that I have to try this out. And guess what?
Yes. Guess what?
I think you were the one that pointed this out to me, and the long tradition of kind of rough anti-PC instincts in gay culture. I think it was you that pointed out the magazine, the AIDS magazine.
Oh yeah, Diseased Pariah News.
Yeah, which I went and looked up and was like, oh my God, that is brutal.
It was also gallows humor, it was an AIDS zine. I'll tell the readers, because I should explain it to them. It was an AIDS zine put out by people who were dying of AIDS. Yeah. It had a centerfold every issue of a skinny 90-pound person with lesions, which listed their various opportunistic infections, how old they were, and whether they were a top or a bottom. It had a masthead which had editors underneath it, had parenthesis, at time of press.
Yeah. Yeah.
because half of them were dead by the next issue. At the bottom, they had a Dead Boyfriend Society section. They had a dietary section called Get Fat, Don't Die, which was basically full of the fattiest food you could possibly eat if you were trying to stay alive. The gay men have a wicked, subversive element to them that is not very compatible with wokeness.